Did you know that Florida has been reported to have more sinkholes than any other U.S. state? Well, in today's video, I'm going to teach you what a sinkhole is, how you can avoid them, and what to look for in a house that you're potentially going to buy or rent here. And I'm also going to cover which areas of Florida are most prone to sinkholes and have the most sinkholes. So what exactly is a sinkhole? If you've never heard of this before, or if you're just now thinking about moving to Florida, you might not be very familiar with this term, depending on where in the country or where in the world you're moving from. Florida is made up of mostly porous limestone rock. We have natural aquifers beneath this rock where the land on top of it sort of floats on top. And sinkholes form when the water is drained either naturally or from human activity, and the ground above can no longer support itself over the depression or sinkhole in the ground and can cause the ground above to essentially collapse into the hole. And sinkholes can also be caused by underground caves as well. Now that you know what a sinkhole is, you probably don't want to live near or on top of one of these, because there have been a few instances where entire houses have actually been swallowed by sinkholes, cars, roads collapse, things like that. It's not too common for those type of incidents to occur. They are pretty rare, but they do happen. So where in Florida do they have the most sinkholes? Well, typically right in the middle of the state is where you have the most sinkholes in Florida. They even have an area there called Sinkhole Alley. And the 10 most sinkhole prone counties in Florida are Pasco County, Hernando County, Hillsborough, Marion, Pinellas, Citrus, Polk, Orange, Seminole, and Lake County. And the top 3 on this list, Pasco, Hernando, and Hillsborough counties, are the top 3 counties in Florida that they refer to as Sinkhole Alley, and these 3 counties alone in Florida are responsible for 2/3 of all sinkhole claims in the entire state. So this area you probably really want to avoid if you're afraid of sinkholes, because it is a real issue. And that's going to lead me straight to my next point. Does homeowners insurance cover sinkholes? Well, probably not. You're going to have to check with your individual insurance provider, but chances are it won't, just like your homeowner's insurance doesn't cover hurricane damage, and it also doesn't cover flooding. You need to have separate policies for those things, and so most likely you're going to need a separate policy for sinkholes if you're in a sinkhole prone area. And in some cases, if it's bad enough, you might not even be insurable. So this is definitely something you want to look at if you're going to be moving to one of these areas in Florida. Unfortunately, since most insurance policies don't cover sinkhole damage here in Florida, you're going to be left with having to get that extra policy, and that's going to run you an extra $2,000 to $4,000 per year. So just keep this in mind when you're looking for a house and adding up all your expenses, especially when you're looking in an area in Florida that's prone to sinkholes, because it's going to be really worth it for you to have this coverage. In fact, if you're not that close to the coast, I would definitely opt for having the sinkhole coverage over any kind of hurricane coverage, because you're probably going to be less affected by hurricanes and more affected by sinkholes if you're going to be in one of these prone areas. And then also just make sure that the floodplain isn't too low where you're going to be living as well. That's just a bonus tip for you in this video, because even if there's no sinkhole activity going on, you want to make sure that the area you're living in is more than like 10 feet above sea level. Preferably 20 feet or higher is good, because your chances of flooding are going to be much lower. Just a bonus tip for you. And just in case you are new here, thank you for stopping by. My name is Michael Bordenero. I make all kinds of videos relating to Florida as far as the lifestyle goes, the beach, the real estate, because I am a real estate agent here. So if you enjoy this type of content, make sure you are subscribed and go ahead and just hit the like button while you're at it. So as you can see on this map right here, most of the sinkhole activity is in this area northeast of Tampa and in this Sinkhole Alley. We do also have a fair amount of sinkhole activity down here in the Miami area, but it's not as severe up in this area. So how can you avoid sinkholes? Well, by looking at this map and some of the research that I've done, I would say some of the best areas to live in Florida to completely avoid them, for the most part, would be the Florida Keys, also the upper west end of the Panhandle in Florida, and the northeastern area of Florida, which just happens to be my favorite, near St. Augustine. Coincidentally, I didn't even know that until I started researching where all the sinkholes were, but that's pretty awesome. But in any case, you can move to any area of Florida and still have sinkhole problems. Just because there are a lot less reported cases doesn't mean there aren't sinkholes nearby. It just could be that they are undiscovered or just underreported. So that's another thing you have to keep an eye out for. So this map doesn't tell the entire story. It just shows where the most sinkhole claims have been made. It doesn't necessarily show that this area has the most sinkholes and there won't be any other sinkholes in the rest of Florida. That's not what it's showing here. So how can you tell if the house that you're looking to buy or rent is located on top of a sinkhole or near a sinkhole? Well, there's a few things you want to look for on the house that will be really telling and make it obvious if there's some sinkhole activity going on. Some of the warning signs can be windows and doors that don't close properly. It can also be large cracks in the walls or the ceilings. You also want to look out for muddy water if it's well water, so you want to ask when you're looking at a property if it's on well water or if it's on city water, because if it's on well water and you notice mud in the water, that can be an issue. Also, you just want to take a step back and look at the property. Look, do you see if it's kind of leaning or tilting? Do you see any slumps in the ground? Do you see any fences that are leaning, unusually? Those are the warning signs, the early warning signs, in fact, that there might be a sinkhole there. So you definitely want to check that out. And I would say just pay attention to these things no matter where you're looking for a house in Florida, because even though if you're looking in one of these areas where it's not sinkhole prone, you just never know. And obviously if you're going to be looking in Sinkhole Alley or somewhere near there, you definitely want to be paying attention to this. So the good news is that most sinkholes aren't deadly. The odds of a sinkhole swallowing your house are not very good, but you just have to be aware of them, because even though they're not deadly, they can still cause some pretty severe property damage, and in some cases can even make your house a total loss, similarly to like if you crash your car and you total your car. So even though they might not be deadly, it can still be devastating financially, and having to deal with a disaster like that is not something you probably want to face, especially if you're moving to Florida just to retire or live a better lifestyle like I moved here for, and just to enjoy the life here. You don't want to be dealing with stuff like that. But you just have to realize that sinkholes are a fact of life here in Florida, just like hurricanes, just like lightning, just like lots of rain. It's just something you're going to have to deal with here. So the purpose of today's video isn't to scare you, it's just to educate you and make sure you're aware of what sinkholes are and what to look for and how to avoid them. Now that you've learned a little bit about sinkholes, put a comment below and let me know if you even knew what a sinkhole was before you saw this video, or if you did, if that changes your opinion about where you might be looking to move to in Florida, because I'd be curious to know if a topic like this really influences your decision on where you might want to move here in the state. So, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure that you keep on hanging out with me and click on one of my other videos right over here, and I'll see you guys over there.